This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and here's one of the more interesting pieces of technology we get to review. This is the Asus PadFone X. Now, the Asus PadFone came out about 2 years ago, and it was only available overseas, Asia, some European countries. Some of you lucky people could get it. In the United States, not so much. So what is it? Right here, it's a 5-inch Android smartphone with very good specs, flagship kind of specs on it, and it's got a decent look to it, about the same size as the Samsung Galaxy S5, and there's this interesting thing. It's a 9-inch tablet dock. It comes together for your $199 with a contract, which is about the same price as your average flagship smartphone just for the phone. You get both of these, so all you do is you slide it in the back here, just drop it right in, gives a little beepity buzz, and then there it is. Tablet. Not bad. But wait, there's more now. This you get for $199 on AT&T. They're the exclusive carrier right now in the United States for this. But there are a couple of accessories as well. So, you know the Asus Transformer line, they always have that kind of dockable keyboard. Well, it's here again too. So here's the keyboard dock, $99. Not such a bad price, actually very weighty, very sturdy. It uses Bluetooth though, it's interesting. We'll show you how it all puts together in our video, but this slot right here is just to hold it. It doesn't make any kind of data connection, it's just going to use Bluetooth. There's a Folio case, there's some more stuff. We're going to look at it now. You wouldn't guess this was a phone review at the moment, would you? Because it's a phone and it's a tablet. It's the Asus PadFone X. 9-inch 1920 by 1200 display here, so a little bit bigger than full HD. 9 inches is a little bit small. Notice the bezels. Now, tablet bezels, you know, nobody expects them to be razor thin like they are in phones, because a phone, you wrap your hand around it, you don't have to hold it by the bezels. With a tablet, you do hold it. But these bezels are kind of immense. A little bit weird there. I suspect, because this is a smaller tablet than the original PadFone, that one was a 10-inch class, that they're actually just trying to make it big enough so they can make a reasonable size keyboard dock that somebody could actually use. And on the back, wow, there's a star of our show right there. That's the phone. Fits right inside. It's a resistance fit, which means that there's no clips or anything. It's just a nice snug fit. That's what holds it in. The phone is not going to fall out, though, as you can see. Not that I'm telling you should go ahead and do that all the time, but it's pretty sturdy in there. So to get it out, you just do like so. To drop it in, you just drop it in. And there it is. And then this dock becomes useless. At the moment, useless. There's no brains in here. There is a secondary battery in here, 4990 milliamps of power. But other than that, there's no brains inside this dock. Everything happens inside of the phone. So it does some neat little magic there, and it just transfers its display basically to the dock is all that it does, and it can pick up some charging from it. What do we have here? A 5-inch Android smartphone, full HD display, IPS. Nice enough looking display, not super duper bright. We've actually disabled all of Asus's power management. They have some pretty sophisticated power management because that automatically sets brightness for different programs and features you might be using. So we disabled that so we could have it pretty bright all the time there. But nice enough looking phone, 5 inches, pretty much your standard kind of flagship-y size Android phone these days. And comparing it to the Samsung Galaxy S5 right here, you can see they're about similar in size. Now, unlike the PadFone Infinity that went for those nice metal accents and a classier look, this here is genuine plastic. It's a soft touch plastic. It's not bad looking. It's functional. It's sturdy enough. So that gets into the price point. $199 for the phone plus the tablet dock. That's really a pretty good deal there, especially given the internals on here. We have a Snapdragon 800 quad-core CPU clocked at the usual 2.26 gigahertz, which everybody rounds up to 2.3 gigahertz. So that and the Snapdragon 801 are currently the latest, greatest CPUs you can get. Not much of a difference between the 800 and the 801, so we're not going to complain about that. 2 gigs of RAM in here, 16 gigs of storage, about 10.5 gigs available for your use. MicroSD card slot, all the usual wireless radios, so nice enough phone. 13 megapixel camera on the back here with LED flash. It has an HDR mode. You can shoot 1080p and 4K video. We have a front 2 megapixel camera on here. The tablet dock has a 1 megapixel front-facing camera, so you can continue to use that for video chat. Sadly, it's not as high resolution as the phone's actually is. So all in all, for your $199, it's a pretty nice phone. Battery is sealed inside, 2300 milliamps in here, again, 4990 inside of the tablet dock. You can plug in the dock to charge it. And we have a micro USB port right there. You just use the included charger to charge it. This does not do data transfer. If, for example, if you have the phone docked and you plug this into your computer to transfer stuff, it doesn't even do that. And so it is just for charging this port here. That's it for ports. You don't get any USB host ports or anything like that. We have a power button up here. It does have front-facing speakers, which is pretty darn nice, and we'll demo the sound pretty soon. Now the back of this, you might look at it and say, well, that doesn't look too removable to me. It is. It reminds me of the Moto E. It's not much fun to take off, but you grab it by the micro USB port and you start just prying it off with your fingernails that you may or may not have. And you can take the back off. And in here we have the micro SIM card slot and a micro SD card slot compatible with cards up to 64 gigs. That's SDXC compatible. Notice the battery is actually sealed inside. Another trend for these yes, it has a removable back on it, but no, that doesn't mean you get access to the battery, because to make it skinny, they don't want to make a battery bay. So there it is. The battery is permanently installed. Snaps back on pretty easily. Easier to get it on than it is to get it off. Phone has metal accents around the side. Headphone jack up top, microphone hole. Power and volume controls, pretty much standard locations there, along with the micro USB port down here. And this one does do data transfer, so if you want to transfer stuff to and from your computer, you can do that. It also supports USB hosts, so you can use USB flash drives, gaming controllers, all that sort of thing with it. It would be way cool to actually use a game controller with a tablet, but you do get it on the phone. Now, is 2 years too late for this kind of product? I don't think so. I also think that after 2 years of being on the market, even if it wasn't in the US, if it was going to take the world by storm, it would have done so in the 2 years that the PadFone and the PadFone Infinity models were out. That said, it's still a very useful device. Ironically, this kit arrived just the day before our office lost its internet connection completely. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is going to make work hard. And I was like, well, I have a phone that turns into a tablet. So there is certainly a lot of utility there. For those of you who don't have a tablet with 3G, 4G, LTE built in, like this guy does, and you don't want one because you don't want yet another data plan, well, here it is. One data plan serves both devices. That's the big thing that AT&T is saying. You only have to have the one data plan for the phone, so nothing special going on there. It's pretty versatile. And then, well, notice all these other little toys we have right here. So this kind of setup kind of just begs for geeky accessories, doesn't it? So here's our PadFone. Here's our phone. Drop that in there. Does a little buzzy wakey. And here is our optional $99, weighs an incredible amount, keyboard dock, Bluetooth based instead of being mechanical connection, like I said, which is different for Asus, because usually they use a mechanical dock connector. It does hold it in pretty snugly, and that's as far back as it goes. So if you want to see, it's an IPS display, so that's plenty actually adequate viewing angles, I think, and then of course the usual closing motion. Not the lightest coupling. For something that is nominally, this is 9 inches, not even 10 inches. This is 3.3 pounds all together. There is a small battery inside the keyboard dock that provides power just to the keyboard. It's like an accessory Bluetooth keyboard. Think of it that way. It needs some power. But we have our dock right here, and we have our phone. The phone weighs the usual 5.1 to 5.2 ounces. The dock, just the dock itself, weighs another 1.13 pounds. So not really the whole thing together is not very light. So the phone plus the dock, not including this keyboard right here, is looking around 1.5 pounds. So these days, when the iPad Air and the Samsung Galaxy Tab 4 10.1 and Pro 10.1 are hovering just barely over a pound, that seems kind of heavy. Oh well, the dock, keyboard dock, is probably this heavy just to keep everything very stable. It is stable, unlike some Asus transformers that are a little weebly wobbly because this section was heavier. You don't have that problem here. The weighting is really very good. To remove it, there's no latch or release because there is no mechanical connector. You just grab it and pull it up. Obviously, you should not be picking this up and carrying this just by the display section. It's just this little snug fit here. That's all that keeps it in, so don't do that. The dock is, you know, because this is a smallish tablet, even though they did increase the bezel size, like I said, probably just so they could make this a bit bigger, it's still on the small side. I think 10.1-inch netbooks. So if you have big hands, you may never become comfortable on this. Not backlit either. If you can deal with small keyboards, it's not too bad. Travel is okay on this, and it is actually waking up the device over there because, again, this is Bluetooth, so you can put this on your lap and put the tablet on a stand on the table if you want to, by the way. A couple of things are weird. You have to hit the FN key, for example, to get to your quotation marks, and some of the others are embedded because of small space. We do have the trackpad here, which, well, functions adequately as a trackpad. Not that you much need one on Android, but in case you don't want to lift your hand up to reach the screen. And we have dedicated home button. So we've got some Android features there. So that's the $99 accessory dock. A little bit pricey for what it is, maybe. Now we have the Folio case. And you get a Folio case for both your phone and for the dock section in the box. So that goes on, obviously, like so. Fits in there, and we have the kind of origami thing going on over here. So fold it up, and you have a, well, stand of sorts. Yeah, it's kind of springy, you know, gets the job done. However, it is thin, it is protective, and interestingly, it doesn't cover the speakers, so in case you happen to be using this for music playback, you can actually leave it with the case closed and have the speakers exposed, which is pretty nice. And same design right here. You got the hard plastic back. You have the flip cover right here with the nice felty kind of stuff on the inside. Notice there's electrical connectors you have. That's because you're going to have to remove the back cover on this yet again to put the case on. So you'll get real good at this or break all your fingernails sooner or later. Taking this off. And it's not a bad design. It keeps things slim that way. You're not putting a back over a back, for example. So that guy snaps right on. And it is not a smart cover. It does not turn off the phone. As you can see, it just protects it. A little bit barn door-ish, flappy there, but if it's in your pocket, it's going to hold it closed safely. And, yes, you could leave the Folio case on and dock it if you want, like so, for a very pretty blue look. And that does stay closed nicely. So what happens if you're browsing the web? By the way, you get both the WebKit web browser with that incredibly annoying AT&T toolbar that you can disable in settings. Anyway, so you plop it in here because you want seamless operation. What's going to happen? Again, this is the WebKit web browser right now. We pop it in there. And there it is. Just transitions over nicely. So that's kind of neat, right? Aha. Now what happens, say we want to use Chrome instead. And there we are using Chrome. Got the full website here for the New York Times. Performance fine on this. Snapdragon 800 more than up to the task. Really, this is a fast enough phone. So we're going to take the phone out and see what happens. So with Chrome, notice what happens. Chrome may not support dynamic display. You can restart the app in phone mode. Now Chrome always remembers what tabs you had open, so it's going to reload and do that just fine. Or you can add it to the dynamic display list. So let's go ahead and do that. And here we have a list of apps that we have installed. And we'll choose it from the pre-installed apps. And enable that. Notice some of the others have been selected, like contacts and all that sort of thing. So let's stick it back in the dock with Chrome running. On-screen multitasking buttons here, notice that's already killed Chrome on us though. Soft buttons down here, no hardware capacitive buttons. So now we'll stick it into our dock and see if it transitions over properly now. And it does. So that feature works. Now, if you're playing something like Real Racing 3, honestly, I would get out of the game first before making this kind of switch over here. But for the core apps and the built-in apps, once you enable that feature, it seems to work pretty well. that gets into another discussion altogether. Now, because this is both a phone and a tablet, you know, sometimes there are phone and tablet versions of apps. Like Twitter looks different on the phone than it does on the tablet. A lot of apps actually look the same regardless of what you're using, but a couple of them, like some of the weather apps, they'll take advantage of the bigger display. So let's launch Twitter and see how it looks. Generally speaking, Google Play is going to give you the phone version. I'll cut to the chase there and tell you that, of the app. So this is the phone UI. Now, for those of you who use it on a tablet, you know you get two columns otherwise with information over here. If you tap on a post, you'll get replies and tweets and all that kind of thing over here, or a suggested follower list. So there's that. Doesn't mean you're going to get the tablet app rendition over here necessarily. The tablet is running Android KitKat 4.4, currently the latest and greatest version of the operating system, with Asus's, they call it the Zen UI, generally speaking, on top of it. It's really, really light. They haven't changed very much. They've added some of their own custom settings for power savings, some other stuff. Obviously some special settings just because this is a hybrid sort of device. Performance is very good. Again, it's a Snapdragon 800 quad core. You got 2 gigs of RAM in here. No qualms whatsoever. There is plenty of AT&T apps on here. The usual selection of bloatware is on board. In terms of the UI, you've got the quick access to your settings right here, and this is mimicked on the phone. You can switch between the quick access and all of your settings right here. Fairly normal presentation. A couple of things that are different are the power saver mode that they have right here. So you can choose ultra saving mode, optimize. By default, optimize is turned on. And you can see what it does here. So it's going to change your screen brightness. If you're watching videos, it's going to drop it down to 60%. I don't like that so much, so I changed that. So the nice thing is you can customize this. You can keep the power optimization functionality and customize it to suit you. Happily, battery life is pretty good on this. As a phone, just using it like you would a Galaxy S5 or an iPhone, battery life is about comparable to the Galaxy S5. So I had no trouble getting through a day on a charge with LTE on and active, the usual thing, making some calls, watching some streaming YouTube videos, surfing the web, doing my email, that sort of thing. If you're going to be playing games a lot, expect shorter run times. The tablet itself extends runtime, obviously, because it has its own battery. It also has to power the screen over here. Really, it depends on how much you use the tablet, but probably the average user is going to go a couple of days on a charge for the combo together. The phone has dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN and AC, Bluetooth 4.0, NFC, and the usual GPS with GLONASS inside. For synthetic benchmarks, on Quadrant it scored 19,892, on Tutu 35,864. 3D Mark Ice Storm, the unlimited test, the most difficult test, is 19,657. Those numbers are comparable to the Samsung Galaxy S5 and the HTC One M8, which are the other two big flagships available right now on AT&T, as well as other carriers in the United States and across the world. SunSpider, the JavaScript test using the WebKit web browser, which generally scores higher than Chrome, 819, which is pretty darn decent, not the very fastest that we've seen, but certainly pretty good. Again, here we have Asus's Pixel Master 13 megapixel camera. This right below it is the speaker grill, and there's your LED flash. So let's take a look at the camera now, which you can use either with the tablet or with the phone, which is pretty interesting. So we're going to take a look at it using the tablet UI. So here we have our usual bath toy. You can see you can focus pretty close. You have tap to focus. And it's doing a little weird thing with the exposure right now. Normally it doesn't. You can see there's an option of HDR mode right here. We can choose between a bunch of different effects as well. Switch your cameras over here. More settings. You can change the white balance, your exposure value. And for mode, auto, HDR, beautification, panorama, night mode. It has what they call an owl mode, which supposedly can boost brightness levels by about 400%. It does. It makes noise at the same time, so that is what it is. We're just going to leave it on the auto mode. And this is what the UI looks like on the phone itself. By the way, you can pull the phone right out of the dock, and it doesn't have to relaunch the camera app or anything like that. Take pictures, shoot video. Now for video settings, you can actually go all the way up to 4K recording. right here. Now, the odd thing about this is, especially for those of us in America who are not used to these frame rates, it records full HD video at 24 frames per second, not the usual 30. If you switch to 4K mode, you get 18 frames per second. That's a little bit sluggish. Things start to look a little bit jittery, so that isn't the most thrilling part. Now, how did the pictures actually look in the video? Not too bad. And there's our picture we took of the bath toy. That's not going to be the most exciting thing to look at. Video is overexposed there. Here's a video we shot.
Video with the Asus PadFone X camera.
Pretty stable. Picks up some wind noise there, as you can hear. There's a still photograph. In general, you're going to have to brighten up the pictures that it takes. I noticed that they're a little bit in need of help with dynamic range, but that's easy enough to fix, and that's a pretty sharp interior shot there of a car. So it's not a bad camera. It's not as good as the iPhone 5S or the Samsung Galaxy S5 camera, I would say, in terms of exposure and in terms of sharpness and detail, but as cameras go on phones, it's pretty darn decent. I think most people who are coming from last generation 8-megapixel cameras will like it pretty well. And by the way, this is Asus's active wallpaper. They've had this forever on the Transformer tablets, and it tells you your battery level, so this actually will go down as the battery goes down. How about call quality? This is what it looks like when you're in call right here, and you see you have access to mute function, putting a call on hold, all sorts of things like that too. And this is what the dialer looks like, pretty utilitarian. Your most recent calls are up top there, access to your favorites, your contacts, that sort of thing. Call quality on this is quite good, nice and clear. Volume is just average though, through the earpiece, and also for outgoing voice, not wildly loud, but again, quality is good. The phone does have LTE 4G on AT&T. This is our most recent speed test you can see right here, which is pretty average and par for the course in the Dallas area. Good performance on data, no complaints there. The phone does have the mobile hotspot feature, though since it has the tablet accessory, I'm not sure how many of you are going to use this as a high-speed wireless modem for a laptop or yet another tablet. So let's use the YouTube app so we can check out how the speakers sound, and we'll take a look at our Moto E review. So we're about 2/3 volume. There's a volume control right on the side over here.
This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Moto E. What's interesting about this? Not that it's a real high-end flagship phone, but it's $129.
That's pretty good, right? For a tablet, not bad at all.
We're looking at it now. So here it is, the Moto E.
I always appreciate front-facing speakers. So who is this for? Well, it's for you technologically adventurous types and those of you who didn't pay to import one of the older PadFone models. And also, it's kind of for those of you who are looking for a good deal, shall we say. You want a tablet and you want a phone. You want a really nice phone, too. Kind of got flagship-y specs. Well, you got that here with the PadFone X. You got your tablet. You have only one data plan. You only have one thing to carry, not two things to carry. Well, of course, if you separate these, you do have two things to carry, but you know what I mean. You can carry it as one single unit. There's a keyboard dock for those of you who kind of want to make this tablet stand in as a laptop. So it's fairly versatile, and yeah, it's not brand new to us anymore who follow technology. To some of you who don't follow the tech industry as much, it probably does seem pretty wild and new, but it's actually not a bad product. So that's the Asus PadFone X. It's available sometime probably in June from AT&T. Pre-orders start on June 6th, and arguably one of the most interesting pieces of technology that's come across our desk in a while, even though it's been around in one form or another for about 2 years now. Certainly at this price, it's pretty darn tempting for those of you who don't want two data plans, you do want a phone, you do want a tablet. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.